The message from the New Zealand government is clear: tighten your belts. Across the country, budgets are shrinking and public spending is under intense scrutiny. The numbers reflect a strict adherence to fiscal restraint. Over the last 2 budgets, more than $1 billion has been stripped away from programs specifically supporting Maori communities. The largest single reduction fell on the Waikainga Waioranga housing program. $624 million was removed from an initiative designed to provide warm homes. This is happening alongside rising unemployment, putting immense pressure on everyday families who are repeatedly told that making do with less is an unavoidable necessity. The state has established a clear rule: economic survival requires severe, uncompromising financial discipline. But that rule does not seem to apply to Shane Jones. In March 2025, the Minister for Resources flew out to Toronto, Canada. He was there to attend the Prospectors and Developers Association of Canada convention, widely recognized as the largest mining conference in the world. Before departure, Cabinet approved a precise travel allowance. The trip budget was set at $33,000. This chart shows exactly how far off the mark he landed. The actual cost of the trip came in at $63,000. That is a 91% blowout over the approved limit. When a government demands ruthless austerity from its citizens, a single minister nearly doubling his international travel allowance raises serious questions about who exactly has to tighten their belt. To understand how you miss a target by $30,000, we have to look at the line items. Cabinet approved exactly $500 for all land transport on this trip, but the receipts show a charge of roughly 3,800 Canadian dollars for a private limousine. Looking closely at this graph, you can see how heavily this breaks the original limit. The limousine was kept on 24-hour standby for 3 full days, representing a 658% overrun on that single category. Then there were the flights. The approved budget covered premium economy seating, yet the final invoice included business class airfares. Here is a timeline of the follow-up. Ministerial Services noticed the initial overspend and began asking for explanations in May 2025. It took 10 full months, until January 2026, for Jones to finally write to the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff asking for retrospective approval. The 10-month silence between the first inquiry and the final request for approval effectively bypassed the systems meant to catch these errors in real time. By the time the request arrived, the oversight process wasn't checking a budget, it was just cleaning up a bill that had already been paid. When questioned, Jones claimed he was up in the wheelhouse, detached from the details. He blamed trip organizers for a slight booking error and justified the car service by citing the chilly, snow-riddled weather in Toronto. His strongest defense came from his political patron, Deputy Prime Minister Winston Peters. Peters argued that the original budget was simply set too low. He told reporters there was nothing to apologize for, explicitly labeling the spending behavior as normalcy. But that sentiment wasn't shared across the coalition. Finance Minister Nicola Willis publicly stated that she consistently comes in under budget, calling Jones's actions significant errors. Prime Minister Christopher Luxon attempted to smooth things over, framing the massive blowout as a genuine administrative error that he expects won't happen again. In New Zealand, public service is deeply tied to the cultural principle of kaitiakitanga, the serious obligation to protect and steward shared resources. Framing a taxpayer-funded private limousine as normal behavior completely inverts that duty. It turns the privilege of public office into a personal shield against consequence. The reaction to the Toronto trip makes a lot more sense when you look at the historical record. Back in 2007 and 2008, while serving as a labor minister, Jones used his official Crown credit card to purchase adult films in hotels during government travel. This chart highlights domestic expenses from the second quarter of 2019. At nearly $45,000 in 3 months, Jones outspent every other MP in the New Zealand Parliament. Throughout his career, he has relied on political cover from Winston Peters. Peters presided over the New Zealand First Foundation, an organization the Court of Appeal confirmed engaged in a dishonest scheme involving nearly $750,000 in undeclared donations. A $63,000 bill from Canada is exactly what you get after 2 decades of entitlement supported by highly connected enablers. True leadership in Aotearoa is defined by rangatiratanga, the courage to stand in the open, own your actions, and face the consequences directly. Deflecting responsibility onto junior staff and relying on delayed retrospective approvals is the exact opposite of that standard. We are left with two completely different sets of rules. One where everyday families lose funding for housing and are told to endure hardship, and another where public money funds 24-hour limousines for politicians. Fixing this requires structural change, mandatory, real-time public disclosure for all ministerial travel expenses, and a complete end to the loophole of retrospective approvals. Until those measures are in place, the politicians at the top will continue to treat the public purse as a personal amenity, and they will continue to tell you it's perfectly normal.